Hey everybody, this is Ethanata from the Gamer Access and welcome to the Yakuza 5 video review. Yakuza 5 is the biggest Yakuza game yet. Of course, a lot of franchises say that about the latest installment of a game in their series, but they normally don't amount to 4 times the install size on the same console system as their immediate predecessor. Yakuza 5 is way larger than Yakuza 4. With the massive boost in quantity, the next question becomes quality. Is it possible to make all that new quantity enjoyable? The story takes place across 5 protagonists, primarily in 5 cities across Japan. It starts off with Kiryu. Famously known for being the 4th chairman of the Tojo clan organization, he tried to move on from that life and aid the orphans at Sunshine Orphanage. Complication arose, and long story short, he had to move on from Sunshine and live in a normal life as a taxi driver. Moving forward, we have Saejima, who went back to prison, only to break out again because his life was in danger and a special someone has died. There is Haruka, adopted daughter Kiryu, who is moving forward onto her dream of becoming a pop idol. Aokiyama, in the same city as Haruka, gets involved when Haruka's pop idol agency suffers colossal setbacks. Shinada, the one home run baseball pro banned for alleged game fixing, now works as an adult entertainment writer. Wow. That is a lot of protagonists, and this is a big story that will take about 35 hours to finish when pushed. The 5 protagonists of the story will be heavily involved in well, it is difficult to explain. As the name suggests, major Yakuza families of the game are going to get involved in the plot. Basically, there are going to be a million strings pulled in the deep background. The characters are fantastic. The 5 of them are just trying to live normal lives, be good people, make a living, or aspire to a dream. They are people staying hopeful in spite of all the trials and struggles their past gave them. However, even in moments of happiness, there is always something lurking in the background that threatens the fragile peace of these lives. That feeling is one of the best aspects of Yakuza 5's story. The protagonists are not going to live easy lives, but they are fighting through the hardships to make things right. Now, who are the bad guys? It is very deep and convoluted. At first, the antagonist becomes clear, but really it is this person, controlled by that person, who really works for this person, for this ultimate goal, but is shot, but isn't really dead. So Secret Headman pulls these strings for this purpose, but he actually has another purpose to create tension, but really is a friend to this person, so really there was no tension, yet gets shot by another surprise, and the shooter gets shot also, and now my brain hurts. Basically, outside of the protagonist, the world has so many strings in the back, it almost borders on ridiculous for a work of fiction. Now, aside from the confusion, the story is pretty good. With the fantastic characters, you also get good flow, and things are very well established. I honestly believe that another few hours can be had just to go further with each of the protagonists' lives, because it was that well detailed and engrossing. The combat of Yakuza 5 is pretty much the same as it was in Yakuza 4. There is the new character Shinada, but basics here are the same. That also means that if you are not very good at fighting, you're going to get frustrated by the enemy's annoying blocks and knockdown combos. Good news, the fighting still packs incredible amounts of energy and punch. Satisfying brutal heat attacks are also part of the package. Here is a montage featuring one of the most popular tracks in the game. On a serious note, combat may be the same, but it is the same satisfying brutality, and considering there are 4 characters with their own styles, it is fun to toy around with. During levels when there are multiple fights while traversing and building, things can feel a little bit like a drag when the game decides to throw about 200 people just to stop one person. One of the greatest appeals of the Yakuza franchise is the incredible amount of everyday things you can do in the game. You do not have to chase down the next suspicious person. You can just walk into a food place and order lunch. Maybe you want to enjoy a hostess club, or know about the many types of drinks at the bar. How about a game of pool? The problem in Yakuza 5 is it is actually more difficult to do casual activities because of the amount of walking. Yakuza 4 had 1 city and there was a shop around almost every corner. Yakuza 5 takes place over 5 cities and the shops are very spread out. In Yakuza 5, some of the protagonists have major mini-games. In Kiryu's case, he is a taxi driver, so you can make a bit of money and experience there. Or maybe you can take that same taxi and go street racing. Saejima can hunt outside of small mountain town, and Haruka's pop idol training and performances occur as a rhythm game. During the story, the game doesn't make it mandatory to go through these mini games a few times, which may or may not be a drag depending on how they interest you. The story changes characters, so major minigames cannot be revisited during most of the story until you have control of all characters towards the end of the game. As always, there are many small stories and checklist items. Actually, the checklist is colossal. After 32 hours pushing mainly the story forward, the completion percentage will only read several percent. The visual presentation of the game is mostly the same as before, but a bit cleaner. It is nicely styled, and the things look pretty good despite being a PlayStation 3 game. There are now cars and pedestrian traffic that can get very crowded, but the menus seem more basic with their look. When it comes to presenting the story, there are plenty of cutscenes for many of the major plot points. The amount of voice acting is gigantic. Almost everything when it comes to story is voiced, so there is a colossal load of dialogue. Even some conversations outside the story are voiced, so there is plenty of socializing that goes on in this game world. Music? There is music. It is a lot of atmospheric type, so it does its job in the background. There's not much that can be recalled off the top of the head, except for the Princess League music that Haruka sings. Yakuza 5 is still very much Yakuza. However, things this time do not feel as cool as the game before it. It feels like the major picture of the game is the story, as it spans 5 characters across 5 cities with a brain-nodding story plot. It also feels more difficult to enjoy pastime activities because of the sheer size of the city and the amount of walking. While not exactly Yakuza 4, the 5th game of the franchise still holds up. The character development was fantastic, and honestly, it would have been even better if they just put a couple more hours behind each major character. Plus, the gameplay is still Yakuza. You can still take down bad guys with the same level of satisfaction as before. You can still enjoy going to bars, hostess clubs, eat food, and do karaoke, just like before. But now, there are even more activities you can do. Yakuza 5 is certainly far larger than the game before it. In some ways, it may have a little less quality than Yakuza 4. In other ways, it is more refined and improved than before. The score that will be given to Yakuza 5 will be an 8.0 out of 10.